This segment is being brought to you by Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Join us in preserving and protecting Tennessee's wildlife. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hey, we're going to do our product of the week, and what I want to show you, my boy, my friend, my fishing buddy, Chris Snow, has been sitting around doing it again. That boy can come up with more stuff. He has come out with what we call an A-frame spinnerbait. And I'm holding it up here to where you can see. You've heard of the umbrella rigs, we've heard of the Alabama rigs, we've heard of the Tennessee rig. Well, now we got the A-frame. And this is a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait. And he's got 2 big willows and 2 smaller willows. Makes it look just like a little ball of shad going around. So awesome idea. And then I want you to take one other look. This is his maghead chatterbait. And look at what a blade. That's a big blade, isn't it, John?
That is a big blade.
Now, and that's a 3/8 ounce. And you talk about something. Kentucky Lake's full of grass right now. Gunnersville's full of grass right now.
I'd like to head that on Gunnersville a few weeks ago.
Oh my stars! That just if this was you and me, I mean, I'd eat it. I'd eat them both. You got to check out Snowspin. You can go to my website and click on his little deal that's rotating around. Go straight to his website, or you can just go to his website at snowspin.com. and pick them up. I promise you, you will not regret it. All right, we've got John Graves in the house, and John has got, if you followed him any at all this year, he has done exceptionally well for himself this year, and it's because, I think, because he was making the right decisions at the right time. And now, I know your baits and everything, and I want you to talk about them. You got some great looking baits, great looking techniques, but you gotta admit, I can be throwing the same thing you are, but it's a mind thing. And that's what I'm trying to tell the fishermen out there and the fisher ladies, that it's your mindset. If you're confident and you know you're going to catch fish on a lure, then you will catch fish.
And you got to know, even if you're not catching them, that you're going to catch them.
I'm throwing the right stuff.
You're confident. You put your head down and you say, I'm going to catch them.
That's right.
And you might make some changes throughout the day and kind of dial in on something that's working, because every day's a little bit different. You know that as well as I do. One day you can catch them a little different than you can the next day, and you got to figure those little puzzle pieces out throughout the day. But that's what makes it fun to me. If you could go out every day and literally catch a 20-pound bag, it would be fun. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But it would take the art of learning and understanding how to do it.
But if you're doing it, I think somebody else would be doing it too.
Yeah, I would think so too.
I think that's what the competitiveness that we have as fisher people is what kind of sets us apart.
Sure.
I've seen things won by 1/100th of an ounce, or 1/10 of an ounce, rather.
Yes, sir.
And that's just mind-boggling.
It is.
That people can be so close. But I've also seen in Bassmaster Magazine, I got to say this one more time, saw that article, one guy threw an Alabama rig out, and in one cast, he had 4 smallmouth on it that weighed over 20 pounds is what it came in. But how often is that going to happen?
Not very often.
Not very often.
But it can at any moment.
It can, but you got to have, like you said, it's all up here though.
Sure.
You got to play a confidence game.
It is.
But I'm going to say, now how do you know though, John? I want to get in with you. If you're like me, I like to use a crankbait and a top water to find them.
Yes, sir.
Maybe a spinnerbait.
That's right.
To get in there next to the wood. Once I find them, or once I've had a hit, do you continue going, or do you stay right there and figure out, now where was he? What was I doing? How slow or how fast was my retreat? And then do you slow down even further, like throw a soft plastic in there, see?
Yes, sir. Well, first off, All Pro Rods is with you guys.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Number one, you got to put good products in your hands.
Oh yeah, you got to.
I was blessed to get in with All Pro Rods a couple years ago with Mr. Bill Merrick, who has also become a really good friend of mine, amazing person. His rods are better than any I've ever used, and I've used a lot of different rods. And I believe for a long time that a rod didn't make that much of a difference until I got good equipment in my hands. And no doubt,
makes a difference.
it makes a difference. And the best part about All Pro is they're inexpensive compared to your upper rod companies, and they're just as good or better than them.
Yes.
And to me, you start out with that first.
I think so too.
When you're talking about when I catch a fish, do I slow down, do I speed up? What I normally do is I'll work through an area pretty quick, and I'll take a mental note of exactly what I did, where the fish was at, where it bit, how it bit, and that's very important. When you catch a fish, you always want to see how he's got the bait in his mouth. If you catch one on a crankbait and he's got one barb in there, you might want to change. Catch a couple of them, kind of see the routine that they're doing. Change colors just a little bit, because a lot of times you can tweak your color just a little bit, and the next fish you catch, you won't even be able to see the crankbait.
Yeah, he'll swallow it.
And it's the same way with the jig. Sometimes you can change your jig color just a little bit, and it'll be down their throat well, or it'll be hung on the outside. And that's things you got to figure out as you go on, and you got to make those mental notes. And it's back to like we was talking about earlier. Every day's different. I mean, every day is different. But I put the equipment in my hand, the All Pro rod. I like a 6.5 foot APX rod. I throw a crankbait on a 6.5 foot rod, and I throw it in a heavy action. Most people throw it on a real soft tip rod. I like it on a rod that's got a little more backbone and tip, because of the fact I throw it up in things that you can't even imagine it would probably be thrown up in. And if I do get a fish to bite it, I want to be able to get him out.
Out quick.
Now, granted, sometimes you'll pull the treble hook out of his mouth, but you got to take that chance. And once you get them out of the cover, they're going to jump. They might get some slack, but you can play them, and I don't lose a lot of fish on it. A lot of people say, I can't believe that you don't lose a lot of fish on a heavy extra rod, but me, that's what I like. And everybody's different. Some people might throw it on a little different rod, but these crankbaits right here, I started throwing a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'll show them.
Okay.
Courtney, if we can, this is one that, what do you call it, like a chartreuse?
It's kind of like a citrus shad color.
Citrus shad,
They're custom painted. Mean Mouth Lures, Mr. Tim and Cinnamon Turrentine, they custom paint all their crankbaits, jerkbaits, and everything. These two colors here are my two primary colors. I try to keep it as simple as I possibly can. I think that a lot of people get really carried away with their color schemes, and if you go back to the basics, it makes it a lot easier. You always want to have a shad color pattern, and you want to have something with a little chartreuse in it for when you got overcast days or the water's a little bit stained. These two right here are 95% of the fish I catch on a crankbait are on them two colors. And that's whether it's in a 1.5 model or a big crankbait that runs 25 foot.
Oh, yeah.
That's the two colors that I pretty much throw.
That's it. And that cuts down your cost on your tackle.
Exactly. And it makes it a lot easier.
Great. Now that's Mean Mouth Lure Company, right?
Mean Mouth Lures, and their website is meanmouth.com. You can get on there, and they've got an awesome website there that you can look through.
And
they've
got a ton of different stuff.
Oh, he makes everything. He started making jerkbaits a couple years ago, and Percy Priest and Center Hill Lake are wonderful for jerkbaits.
I love Center Hill Lake with jerkbaits.
The Alabama rig is kind of taking over your wintertime fishing, but I still love to get out and throw a jerkbait.
I do too.
It's just what I enjoy to do, and I do the same thing with them. I keep it real simple in my color. As you can tell, this one here is the same exact color as the crankbait right there.
Yeah.
And it's a deadly color when the water's really clear.
Now this one I just call like a ghost.
It's just a ghost. It's just white on top and bottom and clear in the middle.
That's right.
It's a real simple color.
And then a clown.
And then
you got to have a clown.
Center Hill.
Center Hill.
Yes, sir.
If you're not throwing a clown, something's wrong with you.
That's exactly right.
So awesome bait. I want to ask you one other question. When does John decide I need to move?
I move quickly. I'll be honest with you. The first thing that I look for in an area when I pull up is I look for bait. If there's not any bait there, I'm not fishing there, because I feel like they're going to be around something that they want to eat. They're like me. They like to eat.
That's right.
So they're going to be around what they want to eat. And that's rule number one for me. When I'm running around, I'm looking for bait. I'm constantly observing, looking around when I'm running back in creeks and pockets and even on the river channel. And when I find the bait, then I pull up and I start fishing. And you can tell if there's fish there normally, because they'll be chasing bait, especially if they're shallow.
Right.
And I work it really fast. And I really don't slow down a lot. I throw a crankbait a lot, and I flip a jig a lot. And that's the two primary things that I throw.
Fall fishing patterns right now. We're starting off fall. Cold fronts are coming in on pretty much the number one cause for cold fronts is weekend. So
yes, sir.
So I mean, we got one coming in tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So what does it do for your Saturday fishing when the cold fronts just come through? How does it change? Do you change a game plan after that?
I'll change it throughout the day. Again, I'm gonna always start out fishing fast. It's just it's how I fish.
Okay.
And if I can't catch them that way, then I'll do some things different. I'll slow down and I'll flip a jig and do those kind of things. But I pretty much power fish. I run around a lot. I run a lot of gas out, and I run my trolling motor batteries dead every time I go.
Top water bite. You love a top water bite.
I love
this
a top
time
water.
of year?
Yes, sir. And I brought these walking baits that Meat Mouth make as well, and pretty much 2 colors, and both of them are shad colors.
They are.
And they love them. They will eat them up. It's a walking bait. It's a little bit smaller profile than some of your Zara Spooks and stuff, which for around these lakes are really good, because a lot of times they won't hit a big profile bait. So if you'll downsize just a little bit and get a bait that's a little closer to these little threadfin shad that are in Oak Hickory and Percy Creek Lake and stuff, a lot of times it makes a
Well, I got to know. I got to ask you something. Did you watch the show with David Geneva was on here?
I did see it.
Because I noticed you don't have split rings on your walking baits.
I don't put them on mine.
He is. And he talked me into it. And I got to tell you, David, I went out there and tried it, and you're right. It's got to
make a difference.
It made a difference for me because I'm using a 7-foot all-pro rod.
You throw
use
it
a
on
braided line.
The 7-foot cranking rod, is that what you throw it on? That's what a lot of
7-foot
people really
cranking
like.
rod.
Yeah.
And I had braided line. I had 30 pound on test braided line, but I put the split ring on my top water, and it was a lot easier to walk the dog instead of using
Yes, sir.
a heavier sweep to make it move. And so I got to say, give a big shout out to David. That was a great tip. I used it, and so did Joy. It made a big difference.
That's good.
You might want to try it.
I will try it.
I tell you what, it was good.
I believe it. The only thing that I do a little bit different, and I throw my walking bait on the same rod that I throw a jerk bait on. I throw it on a 6-foot medium heavy action rod, and the main reason is it's very light.
Yeah.
So your wrist doesn't get tired, and a lot of times it'll get tired in the beginning, and then you'll kind of get used to it, and you'll be okay.
Okay. I got to ask a big question. I mean, Gunnersville right now is on fire. Jake Davis has been sending stuff. I've been looking at Leary, Jim Leary, and all those Mike Gary and all those. They've been coming in, showing pictures. Gunnersville on fire. But how do you throw? I mean, a DD22 throwing a DD22 all day long can be rough on you.
Yes, sir, it can.
But so can throwing a blooming frog. I mean, you throw a frog and twitch that thing all day, you are worn out.
Well, for one, you got a big heavy rod with about 65-pound test braided line on it, and it will definitely wear you out.
But I know you throw a frog. You like throwing that stuff. How do you make it through the day? Just stamina?
Stamina, and it was another thing that I was going to highlight as well. About 3 years ago, me and my wife got into a company that's called Advocare, and I started taking a product that's called Spark. And
so do I.
It's wonderful. By 10 o'clock, when you start to feel,
Morris got me on
when
it.
you're starting to feel kind of down a little bit, I'll drink my Spark, and it'll motivate me. It'll help me focus, and I'll just grind it out.
Well, wait till you get 55, like me, though. This right here kills me.
It does. It does mine, too.
Because you're sitting there doing this all day, and you know they're there.
Yeah.
And just about the time you slow down, you're like, man, am I ever? And then it'll blow up.
Blow up on it.
And then you get all your heart races again.
Yep.
You get excited.
That's
again.
exactly right.
But I want to ask you another question. Just this last weekend, John, we experienced that the Kentucky Lake fish. And we just had a cold front come through. We threw a frog. We got blow-ups on frogs, but they were always way behind. Started throwing the walking the dog and the Sammies and things like that. Same thing, hitting behind. And I'm not talking about right behind. I'm talking about that far behind. Well, that told me I was going a little too fast, I thought. So I really slowed it down. I meant like the dog was like this. They still hitting behind it. What does a man have to do? I mean, I'm starting to rig up a stinger hook.
Was you in scattergrass, or was it real
scattergrass?
If it would have been me, what I would have probably done, I would have made a change to, I would have probably went to a weight bait and got it right under the water, because a lot of times they'll hit a weight bait when they won't get them.
I never even thought it.
Try that. A lot of people won't do it, and I probably shouldn't have said anything, to be honest with you. It's a little trick. It's a little trick that I utilize that works really good.
And I got some great weight baits, but I didn't even cross my mind.
They will work. That, or
I even thought about a jerk bait.
A jerk bait, or you actually speed it up. Or throw a buzz bait. If you could pick a buzz bait up, a lot of times they'll hit a buzz bait.
Well, now Joy was throwing a buzz bait.
They wouldn't bite it.
We couldn't get it. but they would hit behind the salmon
Yes,
and the
sir.
frogs. All right, hey, we got to do our tip of the week. Now, John, I've prepared you for this. Okay, John, what's a great tip of the week right now?
The tip of the week for me is get out and take some kids fishing. It's
yeah.
such a huge thing to do. They love it. And it ain't just the fishing that they like. Just getting them out on the water, let them steer the boat a little bit, whether they're 4 years old or 15.
That's right.
You know, I've got a little girl that's 5 years old.
I was going to say, do you want to tell them about, you have 3 kids, right?
I've got 3. I've got one that just graduated from Wilson Central this year. I've got a son that's a sophomore and plays football for Wilson Central, and then we've got a
Then you got a
5-year-old.
5-year-old.
We had a late surprise. As a matter of fact, she called me when I was fishing a frostbite tournament on Percy Priest and told me we was having another child.
Oh my
Sure
goodness!
did. And I thought she was playing a joke on me. But she has
You
been
really know to get in how to get in my head, honey.
she has been a true blessing to us and loves the outdoors. She goes with me anytime. She goes and checks all my deer cameras and stuff with me, and
Isn't that fun?
helps me hang my tree stands. I mean,
I have
she's
a
really into it.
a 19-month-old granddaughter coming on. She's a fireball. I promise you. She'll be fun. She'll be fun. Hey, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have a great recipe. Joy is in the house, and this will bring out the Italian in you. Hurry back to more Southern Woods Waters.